This can, all right. Alrighty. Screen. All right. We're going to set for this assignment, we are going to do the switches, two 960s, 3 of them. We're going to name them based on what the assignment says. So the assignment says to name this one HR switch, central switch, and then this one is sales switch. Yep, we name them. We're going to add those VLANs. You go to VLAN database. The assignment says this one is VLAN 30, so we're going to type in 30. The name is HR. And we're just going to click add. So now we've added that into the configuration for this switch. And you would just simply go to the Ethernet ports and just simply click on these, but I'm going to use the command line. Big T. So in the assignment, what it says, let me pull it up. You see, assignment says 0 through 10, which is the port numbers. So we're going to assign VLAN 30 with this switch with 1 through 10 of the ports. So basically how to do that is you type in interface range, and you might be wondering like, oh, how can I type it in halfway and then just it finishes it for me? So basically you type in a little bit, you click tab, and it's like, oh, you want to type in interface? Cool. Same with range if you want to do it with range. Sometimes I just get into a rhythm and type it in. Cool. But like for fast Ethernet, types in the whole thing for me if you just click tab. And we're going to do 0/1 through 10. And then we're going to do what's called a switch port, access, VLAN 30. So now we have basically just configured all 10 of these at once. So this is what it normally looks like. You know, it has VLAN 1, but this one has VLAN 30, and this one has 30, and this one, and this one. And again, all 1 through 10 have 30. And all what I just typed in just changes them all at once. You can just do it individually, but again, knowing how to do that switch port change for all of them is really nice and handy. Okay, so that's for this VLAN, and let's go to sales switch. Same thing here. This one has 3 VLANs, so this one has VLAN 10, and this VLAN 10 is called staff. I'm going to add it. VLAN 20. VLAN 20's name is manager. We're going to add it. And then VLAN 40 is called guest. We're going to add that. Okay. Same thing here. Again, the assignment tells you exactly which ones are assigned to which. 10 is assigned from 0 to 10. This one's assigned from 20 to 22. And this one's assigned 23. So I'm going, you again can just do that individually by clicking on them and changing it. I'm going to do them all at once. And config T, interface, again, just tab to finish the whole thing. Range, fast Ethernet, 0, 1 through 10. Switch port, access, VLAN 10. Again, because this is for, and this is for the sales switch. So that switch, we're in this switch. Enter. I'm going to exit, and then I'm going to do the other ones. So interface, range, fast Ethernet, and again, it's in your assignment. I'm just going to double check 20 through 22. So that's the ones we're going to do. So that's 20 through 22. So I'm going to do again, same thing, switch port access VLAN 1. And just for the 40, I'll show you exactly what you could do for it if you were to do it again one by one. So you have here, click here, you go to 40, click it, and there you go. So I have to switch that one to 40 through just this way. So real quick, I'm gonna let my dog out real quick. Let me still let him out the room. Ready? Sorry for that. So we've made all the VLANs and we've established the ports for the VLANs. We're now going to go on, again, sales switch and the HR switch to configure the ports that are used to connect to the central switch. And we're going to switch those to be what are called trunk ports. To do that, I'm going to connect copper straight through wire. Again, 1 through 10 are for VLAN 10. So those are not, you can't use those. I'm going to use 11 and I'm going to connect it with 11. You don't have to, but in a network, it is nicer to know that HR switch 11 is tied with central switch 11. It's not necessary, but it does help. So we're going to do that. It just helps with simplicity. We're going to do 12 here. I'm going to do 12 on here. Again, make sure you're not using a dedicated port for the VLANs. I mean, yeah, if you hover over it, you can see which ones are for which VLAN. You know, those are all for VLAN 10, that's for VLAN 20, and then for 23 is for 40. And the other ones are all just 1, which are default. Same thing over here. Those first 10 are for 30, and all the rest are for 1. So we're going to go to the central switch. And again, we got to make sure, before that, we got to make sure that these switches that we've used, these ports, are what's called trunk. So you can just, again, you can just click it here, go to and refresh it, boom, done. So you can just do that. Or you can, again, go to the CLI line. This one's for sales switch. Again, so I'm in sales, the sales switch. I'm going to exit here, and I'm going to make sure I'm on the config portion. And I'm just going to type in interface fast. I'm just getting 1 port, so I don't need to do the whole range. This one we're using port 12, so now I'm in 12. You could do what's called switch port mode, and then the mode, you just type in what it is. We're doing trunk. It now is saying, oh, it's changed. It's from down to up. Basically, it's just saying, hey, something changed. Yes, we changed it from access to trunk. Okay. So these are now these FA11 and FA12 right here for these. For this switch, 11 is for trunk, and this 12 is for trunk. And oh, let me actually just click on that real quick to make sure they're all up. Make sure all those symbols are up. And it says, after that, we're going to go to the central switch and we're going to configure the port that is used with the router to be a trunk port. So let's just grab that router real quick. The router again is 4331. I'm going to put it right here. Lower. A little bit of a perfectionist. Not too much though, thankfully. And whichever port I want to use, we're going to use the Ethernet's up down here because these are for the router. So 1, and this one is, we're going to type in here. You can see that it's down. Simply change that. You go to the one you just connected to. You click on. If it does show you exactly how to do it all in right here, the commands, the equivalent of the commands, which is just you would type in interface the gigabit Ethernet 0-0-0, no shutdown. It's called a no shutdown command. Basically just turns it on. It's like, hey, this won't be off. This port will always be on. But we do need to change this port to be for what's it called? Trunk. So let me pull up my previous just to double check, make sure that's all right. Yes. Yep. Last name, last. Yeah. So this one, I'm going to do the whole thing, enable config T, and then interface gigabit Ethernet 0/1, because that's the one I connected to. You can see gig 0/1, and then switch port mode trunk. Goes up, down. Hey, it's trunk now. Good. That's a good thing. So now we're going to go back to the assignment to look at what it says to do next. So we've configured that connection to be a trunk port. Now it says to create the VLANs on the central switch. So you can do it the exact same way, VLAN database, but let me show you how it works on the command line. Because it's very simple. I'm just going to do one of them and then do the rest. In the config statement, but if I recall correctly, it's just VLAN. So you just type in, you'd be on this config right here. Make sure you're on this, not config if or anything. Config VLAN, the number, whatever number it is. So we're going to do 10. So config VLAN 10, and all we're going to do is name, and the name for 10 is staff. There we go. So you're like, okay, what did that do? Go to your config, go to your database. It's the same thing, just on the command line. So that's how you do it on the command line. Now we're going to do 20. 20 is double check manager. So we're going to type in manager, add that. We're going to do 30. 30 is HR. We're going to do that. And then 40 is guest. We're going to add that. Okay. So I'm going to go back and look at that. And it says just create them all, name them accordingly. We have. So it says on the central switch, we're going to run the show int trunk, which is just show interface trunk, just abbreviated. You want to make sure you're in this mode, no config, nothing. You just type in end, it'll bring you to this, and then you just type in show int trunk. And what she wants you to do, she wants you to screenshot all of this. You gotta screenshot it. Okay. Again, just to show you that's an abbreviation, interface trunk. Same thing. It's just an abbreviation of interface. You don't have to type in the whole thing. Okay, so now the next part is the most difficult part in the assignment, which is to configure the router, but it's not too difficult. You just gotta follow along and you'll be able to understand exactly what you're supposed to do. I'm gonna exit the switch. I'm gonna enter the router. I'm just gonna change the name to a DHCP router. You don't have to, but I'm just gonna name it that. Okay. Remember we turned it on, but this part, it's all in the command line. It's all in the command line. And so what it says to do is to turn the interface that is used to connect the central switch on. We already have done that. So now it's saying to create the sub interfaces on the router and assign the sub interfaces according to each VLAN. And then configure the IP addresses subnet mask of the interface as shown in the classless IP of each sub interface. What that is saying is, right here in the assignment, where it says DHCP enabled VLAN subinterfaces, we are going to use these IP addresses that are given. You don't need the -24. The -24 is basically just telling you the subnet mask, which is the 255.255, but we'll get to that. But we're going to use these IP addresses to do all this. So VLAN 10 is this IP, this one's 20, this one's 30, and this one's 40. Okay. And so how you do that is you go into the command line. I'm on interface gigabit Ethernet 0-0-0. Make sure you're on that interface. But you want it to say config if. It's telling you config interface. You're going to then do an encapsulation. And how to do that is you first have to do interface. Actually, let's exit this. You don't have to be, so let's just do this. Exit, and then interface gig Ethernet 0/0/0 dot. And what we're basically doing is we're kind of like splitting the network into sections. 10, we're going to start with 10, which is for VLAN 10. Enter. So now we're in config sub if, which is where you want to be for VLAN 10. So it just means configuration for sub interface. And this is for sub interface 10. We're going to do what's called encapsulation. Again, click that tab. It helps you just quickly write the whole thing. But it's encapsulation dot 1Q, and then you're going to type in the VLAN number, which the VLAN number for this is 10. You can type in that, click enter, and then you're going to add that IP address. An IP address I was telling you about, 192.168.10.1. It's in your assignment. You also have to add that sub interface, which is 255.255.255.0. That's your sub interface, your subnet mask, I mean. Click enter. And basically, you're going to do this for 10, 20, 30, and 40. And how you do that is you can click up on the arrow. So as you can see, I'm scrolling through the other lines that I've already written. So here's this one. It says interface gigabit 0/0. But let me go to this one, right? Interface gigabit Ethernet 0/0/0.10. We're going to change it to .20. So now I'm in .20, the subnet for this for 20, for VLAN 20. And so you're going to do the same thing. Encapsulation .1Q instead of 10, 20. And same thing for the IP address. You're going to do that .20.1, and it's again, you're going to need that 255.255.255.0. Enter. Now we're going to do interface, instead of 10, we're going to do interface 30. Okay. And then interface 30 is encapsulation 30. And then IP address 30.1, 255.255.255.0. There you go. And then the same thing for 40. Again, either 40, encapsulation 40, IP address 40.1, 40.1, 255.255.0. Enter. And so now you have those done. You're going to want to exit the config and go back to router config, just that portion. And now we have to make the DHCP pool. And basically that pool is just having a bunch of different, sorry, let me rephrase that. The IP pool is basically saying these IPs are for this VLAN, and these are the IPs that are allowed for this VLAN. That's basically what we're going to do. And we're going to do that for each one. So we're going to do IP, DHCP, pool, staff. Staff is for VLAN 10 because again, basically it's IP DHCP pool name, whatever name you choose. You want to name it according to your VLAN name. You don't want to be confused by like why is this name this and I don't know. Just name it the VLAN name. And VLAN 10's name is staff. So we're going to call this DHCP pool staff. We're going to enter. Now we're in the DHCP config. And what you're going to do is do network. And your network is going to be 192.168.10. Remember, it's very similar to the one we're doing up here for 10 wood, where it was 192.168.10.1, but we want to include the entire network. So for 10, so we're going to do .0, and you're going to need that subnet, 255.255.255.0. Enter. We've established a network, and now we need to establish what's called a default router. And so the default router is going to be the same number that you used up here. So we're in staff, which is VLAN 10. So we're going to use this IP address for our default router. So this is going to be 192.168.10.1. You're going to enter. There we go. Now I'm going to exit this one. And I'm going to do an IP DHCP pool manager, which is for 20, VLAN 20, enter that one. Again, it's just clicking up on that arrow, going back and changing these numbers to fit that those IP addresses that we created. So again, this one is for 192.168.20.0, same subnet, and then default router. Default router is going to be 20.1. I'm going to exit. And then we're going to create another DHCP pool. For 30, it's HR. Network 30.0. 0. And default router 30.1. Exit. IP DHCP pool, and this one's for guest, which is for VLAN 40. The network for VLAN 40 is going to be 40.0, 255.255.255.0. We're going to do that default router again, 40.1, enter, and now you've established all the DHCP pools for all the VLANs. I am going to create one for one eventually, but we're going to leave it here for now. So I'm going to pull up the assignment again. And the assignment then tells us again, enable the DHCP for VLAN, which is what we just did. And then it says to configure the wireless access points. So I'm going to start adding in those access points that I want. I'm going to scroll back up to make sure I follow make sure I'm getting that same network that's in the assignment. I'm going to connect these. Double check. This one with I connected this one. I'm going to connect it. This one is 23. Yes, it's 23. Sorry, I was in my head for a second. This is VLAN 40. This access point, it's in VLAN 40. If we go look at our assignment, as you can see, VLAN 40 is this access point in the laptop. So remember we established the VLAN 40 with the 23 port number 23 for fast Ethernet. So you want to do 23. You want to connect it. And so visually, to help you kind of like understand this more, you're going to want to go up here, click this little box. We're going to make this, we're going to make VLAN 40 green. So I'm going to open up green here. I'm going to make the outline dark. And then we're going to do a fill color. And we're gonna make the fill color a light green. I like to do really light color greens because they're just easier to they're not going to be combative. Like you're going to be able to still read the network and everything fine. And then I'm going to just go here and you can just do that. Again, it's for visual. It's a visual help. Helps you visualize, oh, this is for VLAN 20. So this green box is for VLAN 20, and you can even name it. If you click up here, you can go here and you can type in VLAN 40, and you can type in the exact same stuff that's in the assignment. Guest Wi-Fi interface FA0-23, right? You can even do that. Put it right here. So hey, I'm like, hey, look, that's VLAN 40. So make sure to follow what VLAN 40 is. I'm going to add in the laptop right here. I'm gonna do this just so it's not competing with the names. I'm gonna change the access point to guest Wi-Fi, just because again, it's gonna be easier to read and understand what it is for. We're going to go into the guest Wi-Fi access point. We're gonna go to port 1. We're gonna change this name to a guest, and then we're going to give it a key number, a password. And in the assignment, what it says to do is that the password for guest Wi-Fi access point, you're going to name that signal guest, which is what we've done, and that password is going to be the date, the current date. So the current date for me is 08/01/2023. So that's the password. I'm just going to copy this, close this out, open this. I'm going to turn off the laptop, pull off this part, and then make it to where it can connect to wireless connections. Turn the laptop back on. I'm going to go to desktop. As you can see, the access point way over here connects to it, which is always hilarious to see. You're going to come here, refresh. You're going to click on that guest. You're going to put in that password. We'll connect it to it. That's good. So this is connected. And for this one, we're going to name it private. Well, internal, actually. We're going to name this internal Wi-Fi. We're going to go in here, go to port 1, again, config port 1, change that default to private, WPA2, and it says to use your UHCL student ID number. Your ID number is not long enough. I've used mine, and it's not long enough. So what I always say is to just type an ID at the beginning, and I'm not going to type in my UHCL ID. I'm just going to type in random 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So again, use your ID, UHCL ID, and type in ID to get it to work because it's just not long enough. Yours might be, but mine's not. Okay, so when I do that, I'm going to add in a smartphone right here. And smartphones are different from laptops because you got to go to config wireless. You got to change the name from default to private, which is the name of the signal. You need to do the same WPA2 PSK, put in that password. I just click enter just to make sure it's all good. It's going to connect there. And then we need to connect this. And double check. You want to make sure you don't connect it to a VLAN because that's not in a VLAN. It's not in one. It's just going to be default. So we're going to add this here. And what I had used was 13. So that's what I'm just going to use again. The port. And I just fast forward to get the port up. And so that's what I have right now. Let me move this to over here real quick. So I can add in, the next thing I'm going to add in that web server because that's what we need to do. So web server and right here, I'm going to bring this down a little bit. Move it about here. And For this one, again, make sure you're not using port that is for a VLAN. So I'm going to use 12 because 12 is not in the VLAN. I'm just going to connect that there. Fast forward. I'm going to name this web server. And here we're going to config. And again, it's in your assignment. You could have put this in sooner. It's not completely necessary, but you can go to desktop, go to IP address, and then type in what your assignment says. The assignment says that the IP is going to be 192.168.1.254. Your subnet is going to be that 255.255.0 and whatnot. Your default gateway is going to be 192.168.1.1. That's your default gateway. Okay. And again, you could have put that in sooner. I just put it in later. And then we're going to do a switch the IP configs to DHCP, but now we're going to add in all those those end devices. So let's add in the two computers. Let's add in these two computers. And again, if you want that visualization, if you want to be able to visualize where the IP VLAN, is where the VLAN is. Again, I just do this. I get a dark outline, and I do a light fill color, and then I just highlight the area where this is gonna be. And then you can click on this as well, and you can type it in VLAN 30 HR. You can even put in what interfaces there are, just like your assignment has it, 1 through 10. You can do that right there. So now I know, hey, this is for VLAN 30. So everything that's in this blue box is for VLAN 30. Make sure you're connected to the ports that are in that range of this range right here. So I'm going to connect this with 1, and then I'm going to connect this with 2. And connect those two, and then I'm going to go to the other side. We've already done VLAN 40, so let's do 20 and 30. 10 and 30, sorry. And so again, I'm going to create those boxes. I just want that visualization. But first, I'm going to add in those PCs. PC1, PC2, PC3 here, it says. And then that third PC, which is in VLAN 20. So I want that visualization because it just helps. It really does. And for me, it helps. I'm going to do yellow for this one. So I want a dark outline again. Dark outline is going to be green. Okay. That color. And then I want a light, like yellow tint. Very light. And then we're going to highlight it. And then for this one, I did a red for VLAN. Dark outline, dark red. And I'm going to do this right here for VLAN 20. And it just helps with that visualization. You can do this sooner rather than later. That's all up to you. This is VLAN 10. I'm going to call it sales staff, interface, FA, 0/1 through 10, FA, 0/10, VLAN 20, sales manager, interface, FA 0/20 through FA 0/22. So now you got that visual. Now you're like, oh, okay, so that's 30, that's 10, that's 20, that's 40. Really good thing to do, because if you didn't have any boxes, it might be quite confusing unless you know the network by heart. So we're gonna, again, make sure we're in this range for this VLAN. So again, I'm gonna do 1 for this one. And I'm gonna do 2 for this one. Again, I could do 8 if I want to, but I'm just gonna stick with that. And then for here, we need 20 to 22. And just to show you again, I don't have to do 20. I don't have to start with 20. I could do 21 if I want. I could do 22 if I want, because I'm in that VLAN. I'm in that virtual network. We got all these end devices connected. Let me see. Let me get that out the way. We got all these networks connected. We got everything looking good and whatnot. Now I got to make sure each thing is configured to DHCP. Let's make sure that this is working. Well, DHCP request successful. There we go. We got that. And as you can see, it's 30.2. Remember, when we assigned VLAN 30, we said, hey, here's our range. Don't do anything else. So there it goes. So we got that one going. Let's start configuring them all. And again, you're going to see that. You're going to see that all of these stay within the VLAN number. So this is 30.3. It could be even more random based on how your network is, but we're going to go here. We're going to desktop, pconfig, DHCP, it's requesting it. It's like, hey, give me that IP. Boom, you got 10.20. Again, we're in VLAN 10. Let's do config again right here. 10.3. Okay. This one's going to be 10.2. 10.2. No, 20.2. Sorry, 20.2. There we go. 20.2. And this one, we connected, we can hover over it, and you can even see where it says wireless up 192.40.2. So again, it's in its VLAN. So these can talk to each other. So if I grab the mail symbol, I click on here, you might be like, hey, wait a minute, that failed. That's normal. It's normal. It fails usually the first time. And if you want to make it look all nice, you can just delete it. But those are talking. I can do it to the same thing here. It's gonna fail. See? But that's normal. See? Usually the first packet fails. I can talk to this one over here. It's gonna fail. Hey man, and you always freak out. You're like, oh, why did it fail the first time? But that's normal. And talk to this one. See, you got to establish those connections first. So your first connection is always going to be like, hey, fail. I don't like the fail, so I'm going to delete it. Again, try again. Hey, it's working. And again, if you get more, you can start seeing it like this. You click toggle PDU list. I'm just going to keep it down here. You should be able to talk to the router. Hey, router, what's going on? Router's talking. Can this one talk? Yep, they can all talk through the router. They can talk to each other. They can talk to the router. And then you got the phone over here. Now the phone, let's see. Can't talk to the phone? You gotta fail. Let's try again. Can't talk? No. Keeps failing. You wonder why? It's because the way the phone is doing DHCP, it's not getting DHCP. See, I'm requesting, I'm like, hey, give me an IP. Give me an IP. The other want to give me an IP. This is supposed to be on VLAN 1 default. So to make this work, you go to the router. I'm gonna type in enable and pull up make sure I type this in correctly. Don't want to be typing in anything wrong, mess it up. So the way I did this was you basically just do the same thing you've been doing, right? How you created those 4 VLANs, you're going to do the same for VLAN 1 default. So that is not how you spell config. Config T, and we're going to do interface pivot Ethernet 0/0/0.1 for VLAN 1, which is the default. Enter that. We're going to do we're going to do the same stuff that we did for the other VLANs, which is give it an IP address. So I'm going to give it IP address 192.168.1.0, 255.255.255.0. I'm going to enter it. Configuring IP routing. It's already configured as part of the, I don't know exactly what that's saying. It's just a message. And then you're going to do an exit. And you're going to do IP, DHCP, pool, and then name it default, because again, we're doing VLAN 1. We're going to do network 192.168.1.0, 255.255.255.0, a default router for 192.168.1.1. Exit. I'm going to exit this. Okay. Press the DHCP. Hopefully, no, that one failed. Let's try it again. Seems like it's failing.
You didn't do encapsulation .1Q,
Thank you.
and one of the messages was saying that.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, that's why I said thank you. It's those slip ups in the mind. You're just like, you're going one. And again, I need to do encapsulation. Encapsulation. What's the word? Encapsulation. Brain is having a brain fart right now.
.1Q.
Yes.
And then VLAN 1.
Yeah, that's my brain again. I was just like, ugh. .1Q for VLAN 1. Thank you. Okay. That should have resolved it. That should resolve it. Let's try it again. Okay, I think I know what's going on. It's because I didn't type it in the first time, so
yeah, the other settings failed.
Yeah, I gotta redo the whole thing. So again, 0/0/0.1. I want to again just type in that encapsulation. I'm just going to restart the whole process. 1 IP address 192.168.1.0, not 0.1, 255.255.255.0. There we go. Exit this. DHCP, IP DHCP pool default network, again, 192.168.1.0, 5.255.255.0, default router, 192, oops. I hate when it does all that. It messes me up. Makes me default router 192.168.1.1. I think that's all I can type in. Boop. Exit. Exit that. Again, come over here. There we go. ACP request successful. Okay. So now should be able to talk to us. In progress again, it always fails the first time. Success. See, success, PC0, smart. There we go. The network is talking to each other. The whole network is good. It's all talking. Now the web server, however, the web server doesn't talk to anything. And so that is a question in your assignment where it says here, test connectivity on all 4 VLANs. All end devices should be able to talk with each other. We're able to talk with each other. Can the devices in the 4 VLANs communicate with the web server? Why? Ask you why. I mean, you know what can talk to the server? The cell phone can. The cell phone can talk to the web server. To the laptop? Let's see, can laptop talk to the web server? Laptop's able to talk to the web server. Can VLAN 20 talk to the web server? Let's see. It's able to talk to the web server. Make sure everything's talking to the web server. Okay, let's see. Web server. Everything looks like it's talking to the web server. Okay, so everything's good here. As you can see, might have had a little mishaps on my first project, but if we look at everything, let's pull this up. Okay, everything's talking, everything can talk to the web server. You can talk to the router, you can talk to other PCs and whatnot. Again, let's make sure you can talk to that phone with the other one. Let's click on here, go here, see, look at that. You're able to talk with the phone. This, you have completed the whole process. You finished the assignment. You need to ask, can the devices in 4 VLANs communicate with the web server? Yes. And answer, finish that question. But overall, you have finished everything. The network looks great. This is the assignment right here. And you are finished. So that's how you do everything. Again, just watch this video if you need to follow along, and just ask help from people that if you need help. But yeah, that's the entire assignment, and I hope this helps, and I hope you're able to finish the assignment and get it done by today.
So great job. I just have one thing to add. I don't think you were supposed to be able to connect to the web server or the smartphone, but the web server is connected to VLAN 1, and you configured VLAN 1 even though that wasn't in the assignment.
Yep, I know.
So I mean, that's good, but I think we're supposed to fail.
Yeah, that's how my first assignment was, and that's why I'm saying like, oh, I'm able to connect. It's probably because I configured. So yeah, and let me pull up I'm recording if I am correct. Yes, recording on this computer. Thankfully, I'm recording. But yeah, you're not supposed to do that thing. I just did it because I was like, why aren't you talking? Talk to each other. Talk to them.
We could probably ask her in class if we could do that or not.
Yeah, I configured it to be able to talk with the network. And in my first time, it does not want to talk with anything. It's like, hey, screw you. I'm in my own place. You in your own bubble. It doesn't want to talk to anybody. But I am going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to end the recording. And I hope that's going to help everybody.